All right, here we go. Had to start again. So this is take 2. Let's just start at the beginning. So, conversation that I've been having on Twitter, and conversation that I've what the hell? Okay, let's keep going. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this tonight. Maybe the feds are going to come after me for real. The conversation I've been having with myself, as well as the podcast audience, as well as Twitter, I just kind of want to open up on it a little bit more here. It's kind of a broad topic. So simply put, I think we're afraid, the working class, I think those of us, I think we are both afraid as well as enamored with and by billionaires, or the idea of wealth beyond our dreams. I think we are enamored. I think we idolize, society idolizes billionaires. And that's part of the reason we have the system that we have now. We have a system like when we could literally shape society to be anything that we choose to make it, right? We have that ability through democracy, but we're so fascinated by billionaires and obscene wealth that we dream that it's going to be us one day. And it's become so taboo to talk about taxing the wealthy that it's like we're afraid to say stuff like what I said on Twitter today, which was $1 billion is enough. $1 billion is enough. Tax the rest. That's not even a revolutionary idea. If you want to talk about a revolutionary idea, you have people. I have friends who really want just no such thing as a billionaire, period, at all. And I'm saying, get you 1 billion, fine, that's enough. We're taxing the rest, and we're going to invest in humanity. People were afraid to tweet that. People were afraid to retweet that. Hell, I was afraid to tweet that because it's a taboo idea. Like, we really have ingrained in our society that the wealthiest people in society actually earned it. No, they didn't earn it. Nobody earns multiple billions of dollars. It requires too much labor. It requires too much utilizing of our system, of our resources, of our human capital. You never make $1 billion on your own. But yet we seem to be fixated with this idea that they did, that they earned it, and that because they earned it, we would be infringing on freedoms if we taxed it. People really have it in their head that taxing the wealthy. There's 607 billionaires in America. People honestly, some of you honestly have it in your head that if we tax those 600 people and turn them, instead of being multiple billionaires, turn them into just a single billionaire, you got $1 billion. More money than you could spend in your lifetime. People honestly have it in their head that will create a dystopia, that will create some type of authoritarian state, and that our freedoms will be infringed upon. I'm sorry. What leap of logic is that to suggest that my freedoms are predicated on Bill Gates' ability to hoard and accumulate as much wealth as he possibly can? Why? There's so many other people, 330 million people in this country who are not billionaires, and you mean to tell me that my freedom is predicated on those 607 people being able to accumulate wealth? No. I mean, that's literally what they're telling you, right? But the truth is that's not the case. They will still, if we taxed every billionaire and all they had left was $1 billion, they will still be filthy rich. You and I would be extremely free, still free, and we will be able to invest in humanity like never before. We would be able to actually invest in the future of humanity. But we're afraid to say that. We're afraid to have that conversation because we all either think one day there will be a billionaire, or we think that billionaires actually earn that money. Now, am I saying billionaires are evil? Yes, I know. I'm not saying they're evil. I'm saying this relationship that we have with them is evil. This idea that if we just work hard enough, the reason we're not billionaires is because we didn't work hard enough. There's literally no combination of jobs that you can have that would ever lead to you being a billionaire. The only way you become a billionaire is through manipulating it. Not manipulating so much. Yes, manipulating, but what I was actually trying to say, exploiting labor. Exploiting labor or exploiting consumerism. Extracting wealth from people who probably can afford it the least. That's how you become a billionaire today. You cannot become a billionaire without the resources that we collectively as a society create, without the labor pool that we as a society create. You cannot do it, like Elizabeth Warren said. And so this concept that we have in our head is so erroneous that we believe that, let me see if I can clear this out real quick, that billionaires earned it and so we should leave. No. And furthermore, if you go one step further, think about all the things. Oh, come on, don't do this again. You think about them hoarding the wealth that is hoarded. It does nothing for the economy, or it's not maximized in the economy. Like, I'm not even talking about communism. I'm not talking about socialism. I'm talking about an economic stimulus package. How much more wealth can be generated if the working class had more of a disposable income? Right? The way they play capitalism in this country is obviously intentional, but it is to extract the last penny. They are satisfied. I've never seen so many morons in my life. People who are literally satisfied, like, this level of wealth is fine because I guess it's easier to obtain wealth by extracting the last penny versus a long-term plan to create an obscene amount of wealth, because now you have a working class with twice the disposable income. Now you have a working class that actually has the ability to take leisure vacations and to spend money on things that they could only dream about right now because they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's not as though, it's the same thing we talked about the other day. Remember the bailout 2008? We had a choice and we chose wrong. Our leaders chose wrong. We could have invested that money in people. We could have taken that same bailout and invested it and given it to homeowners. By giving it to homeowners, they could have paid. The banks would have got the money anyway. They would have paid off their mortgages or caught up with their mortgages, and everybody would have been bailed out. The homeowners would have been bailed out. The banks would have been bailed out. That was a choice, but we chose to give the money directly to the banks and allow the banks to foreclose on homes anyway. That was a choice that we made, and that perfectly represents this desire to just exploit. Like, you literally could have gotten the same results. Banks could have been saved and home ownership could have been saved, but that wasn't good enough. They wanted the money to come directly from the government to the hands of the banks and the wealthiest people in the world, and that's what we chose to do. And you know who suffered? The working class, the middle class. That's because we chose to structure that bailout in a way that did not and would not benefit the average person. And that was a choice. There's nothing about the bailout that required us to give that money to the banks. To make my main point, the point is this: if you put money into the hands of workers, if you put money into the hands of consumers, that money circulates through the economy, and the wealthy get wealthier anyway. But that's not good enough for them. They do not want you to have that. They do not want you to realize that you can structure your government that way. They prefer you thinking that the only way the government should be properly structured is for us to give this money directly to the wealthiest people in the world. This is an ugly setup. I need to clear this out some. Do you see what I'm saying? They have convinced us that the proper way our government should work is that we give money to banks and to billionaires and not tax the hell out of them. They have twisted this so much, and you know what? They get away with it again. They get away with it because we're so fascinated with rich people, because one day we're going to be rich. Meanwhile, the joke's on us. They know full and damn well that there's only 607 billionaires in America, and the chances of you becoming the 608th, well, even if you won the lottery, you wouldn't be a billionaire. I was going to say the odds are better for you to win the lottery, but you're still not going to be a billionaire. That was ugly. I messed that one up. So I think we just have to change our entire disposition. I think we have to be bold enough to make recommendations that are, come the hell on. Give me this. Come on, where is it at? We can't be afraid. Okay, if this does this again, this is a new update, and this update is going to piss me the hell off. Let's try it again. I'm only on level 18. This is kind of sad. All right, where was I? Our approach. I think we have to change our approach. I think we have to change the way we talk about it. I think we have to speak with a level of boldness in a way that's actually feasible, right? And this is what I mean. To just say that we're going to get rid of all the billionaires, or we're going to, wait for the communist revolution, or we're going to wait for whatever. For billionaires, that's like, ha, 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 that'll never happen. You know what I mean? But if you say, okay, no, we actually understand that we have the ability to shape society the way we want to. We can make America whatever we want it to make it. You'd have to, if we convinced enough people, they would literally have to suspend democracy in order to protect billionaires from our plan. Right? That's number one. So make it something that's feasible and workable inside of this system. And if you put that constraint on it, it makes it terrifying. This is one of the reasons why Wall Street is a little more afraid of Elizabeth Warren. And I'm not going to say more afraid, but this is why they talk about their fear of Elizabeth Warren. That's because Elizabeth Warren's plans are going to fit neatly in capitalism. They don't even believe Bernie Sanders is going to get that far, or they're not even going to talk about it. So they pretend like they're more afraid of Elizabeth Warren. There's a little bit of validity to it, though. The more tangible and more realistic your plans are within the existing system, the more terrifying it is, because it becomes a real possibility. In other words, instead of waiting for the revolution, tax every billionaire of maximum income, maximum wealth of $1 billion. Anything over $1 billion, it goes into investment into humanity. And you do that through democracy. Now, in the framework of something that's kind of feasible and possible, that idea is terrifying to billionaires. That idea would be an anathema to Democrats, to Republicans, to some radical people who think they're radical, but you're actually just a capitalist, and you would jump off the ship so quick. Your radicalism, you'll see who's really radical when you actually start talking about policies that are possible within our existing system. Like, we don't have to wait on the revolution for us to tax billionaires into only having a single billion. And then even at that level, they will still be filthy rich. They would have more money that they could spend anywhere in their lifetime. That's the fascinating thing about it, is that $1 billion is so much money that they can't spend it in their lifetime. And yet they have you believing if we tax them and all they have left is $1 billion, that it's an affront to to democracy. They have equated democracy. Check that out. Can I just say that before? I just want to reemphasize it before I even finish it. They have equated democracy with the ability for billionaires to obtain wealth and to hoard wealth. That's how they define democracy. Now, we already know that's the wrong definition, but what matters really is how, not the precise definition, but how it plays out. If the concept in society is that democracy equals capitalism, and anyone who taxes billionaires or changes the system so that, wealth is limited in this country, then it's an affront to freedom and democracy. No, democracy is a governing tool. Democracy is not capitalism. Capitalism is not democracy. But they've convinced us of that. And so what do? We're afraid to say that we're going to tax billionaires out of existence. Or we're only going to let you get $1 billion and we tax the rest. And then we decided as a society, as an American body politic, what we're going to do with that money. I mean, here's the other thing. We literally can shape America to be whatever the hell we want it to be. If we're tired of the military industrial complex, all we have to do, and it's a big it's not little, but we have to get enough votes. And we have to get enough votes across this country, state by state, local municipality by municipality. But there are plenty of people who are not voting. There's plenty of people who see the problem. Realistically, they see it. God damn it. And they don't participate because they don't think anything's going to change. And you know what? There's validity to that. I get it. But I think if we change the way we approach this thing, man, we could actually start convincing people that these things are possible, that they're more than us. They're more of us than there are them. Like that we literally can shape this country to be exactly the way we think it should be, instead of being the way that it's been forced upon us all of our lives. But what is it going to take to change? One, we got to give up this idol worship, this fascination that we have with celebrity and wealth, because we're never going to be famous and we're never going to be rich. But we protect those who are famous and rich because of the possibility, the off chance that maybe one day we'll be rich and famous and we'll get to live this lifestyle of luxury. And you won't. You're not. But the fact that you dream of it, you idolize it, that's how they're able to get away with it over and over and over again. And they keep us from shaping society in a meaningful way, in a way that's beneficial to the majority instead of the minuscule minority. 607 billionaires, and we haven't even talked about the 100 millionaires. But we can let you off the hook just for a little while. We'll come get you later. This idea, man, they have us all thinking, they have every single one of us thinking that we're going to be rich one day. And it's almost so taboo, you know. Look at the culture that was shaped around us before we were even born. These were intentional decisions, right? The cutting the tax bracket from the 60s, where anyone who made over $200,000 a year, I guess, which is nearly equivalent to about $3 million a year now, we decided, or our elected officials decided, that instead of that top marginal rate being 90%, that we're going to cut it. First, they cut it down to 70% underneath JFK. And then by the time it got to Ronald Reagan, it got cut so low they had to go back and raise it again. That was a decision. And now we have a society that reflects that decision. And what I'm saying is, there are more of us than there are of them. And if we ever got some solidarity, and we ever were able to convince people that we don't have to wait for any revolution. We can use the tools that we have right now and tear this system apart. Because honestly, if we actually operated with the power that we have, man, they would suspend democracy so quick. They absolutely would. You think they're gonna let 10 million new voters who never voted because they didn't believe in the system, who are now like, oh, we can actually have a revolution through democracy? Do you think they're gonna let us vote? Well, I want to test that theory. And I think we start organizing around that, convincing people that we can make America be whatever the hell we want it to be, and there's not a Republican, there's not a Democrat who can stop us if we out-organize them. And hell, I mean, if Bernie Sanders wins, then we can start working it through the Democratic Party. And of course, there are going to be people who fight us all along the way. And you know who's going to fight us the hardest? People who are almost. Those almost people, almost rich people. They're going to fight us the hardest because they're like, wait, it's my turn. It's my turn to be a billionaire. You're going to do all this right before I become a billionaire? Nah, bitch, you're never going to become a billionaire. Give it up. And if you do, well, fine. You could be a billionaire. We're just going to tax everything above that. And here's the other thing. Like, Ronald Reagan convinced y'all that people are going to stop being productive and stop making wealth if we have a top tax bracket of like 90%. Remember that speech? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. These people, listen, to maintain their billions, they'll continue to work. Especially after we tax them, they're going to have to go right back to work anyway to make more money. So, and if they don't, then so be it. There's opportunity for someone else to fill in the void. That's open. That's the free market, right? Somebody won't do it, somebody else will. And that opens up, fine. If you don't want to participate in the system, then you just open up a lane for someone else to come in and make their own wealth. But they convinced us of all of these lies, all of these. And last but not least, because I'm getting tired. I'm super sleepy tonight, as you can tell. I don't know how much longer it's going to be before people actually have had enough. And see, there's so many layers to this. Damn. Here's a layer. If you don't know the possibility, a couple things. If you don't know the possibility of our power, then you just kind of go through life and just think this is the best we can do, right? So the number one thing they keep from you is information and knowledge and the ability to look at the system and say, we actually can do something else than what we currently have. You mean to tell me we actually could vote and decide that everyone has childcare or everyone has healthcare? You mean we could just vote on that and then make it happen? Yes, we have enough resources in this country. We have enough manpower in this country, woman power. We have enough human capital generally, is what I'm saying. We have enough human capital and enough wealth and enough wealth generating mechanisms in this country so that we don't have to have a single person be homeless or even be in poverty. These are things that we can do. But if you don't know that we can do those things, then you just go through life oblivious, thinking that this is the best we can do. And then the other way is that they just keep you thinking that, you're going to be the next person who's going to be rich. And so those two tools right there, the number one things that they use to keep us from ever progressing. And so the most dangerous thing that we could do or be is to be the person who wakes someone else up and shows them like, listen, hey, there's more to this. There's more that we could do. It's the idea of it is just as dangerous as the realization of it. Because it's the idea stage that they're gonna fight us the hardest, just to get everyone thinking. And when I say everyone, I mean everybody. We can reach everybody on social media. They're gonna crack. I'm not saying we shouldn't try, but I guarantee you, they'll crack down on social media. These people will fight like hell to keep the system exactly the way it is. And we're talking about a few people. We're talking about a few hundred people and all the sycophants who just kind of are bootlickers and protect them because they think that they're going to be the next one. But even that group, we still outnumber them tremendously so. So the moral of the story is there's powers in our numbers. We have the numbers. The numbers are on our side, and we have the ability to shape society however we want to shape it. And if we tax billionaires, and all they have left is $1 billion, they're still filthy rich, and we have resources to invest in humanity. But the impediment to that is the fact that we ourselves, we at the bottom, the working class, lower middle class, we're afraid to have that conversation because we think that's socialism. No, that's just democracy, and we just voted to raise taxes on the wealthiest people. We still have a free market. They're still billionaires. You're still operating, and the next administration can come in and change it. So it's still a democracy. But they have you afraid to think like that. And that's intentional, because so long as they have you afraid to think like that, well, then you're never going to think like that, obviously, right? And you're never going to act on it. And so they're free to accumulate and hoard wealth that's not even circulating through the economy in a meaningful way, because if you put that same money into the hands of the working class and the middle class, they will spend it because they're just catching up. Like, we constantly are catching up. But instead of doing that, instead of putting money in the hands of people who are going to stimulate the economy and then thereby generate even more wealth than we currently have, that's the sad part about it, is that they're limiting, the richest people in the world are limiting the amount of wealth can be generated in general because they're satisfied with the system the way it is. But in reality, we could generate as a society so much more wealth if we weren't so fixated on just extracting and extorting that wealth, taking the last dollar. Literally a course in economics, a study, how to get the last dollar. And the best example of that, again, would be the banks. We decided in 2008 as a society that I'm actually doing pretty good here now. We decided that we as a society were going to give this money to banks instead of giving it to homeowners, when if they had given it to homeowners, the money would have ended in the hands of the banks anyway, because the homeowners would have gotten themselves out of foreclosure. But that wasn't good enough. This system is so evil and so greedy that it wasn't good enough for them to get the money through the homeowners. They wanted the money directly themselves at the expense of the homeowners. And so then they got the house and the money. You see how that works? And that was a decision that we made, that our leaders made. And what I'm saying is it's time to make some new decisions by getting some new leaders. And I think our leadership has to be able to talk exactly like I just said. $1 billion is enough. Tax the rest. All right, we'll finish this tomorrow.